Welcome back to Bulletproof Mindset, your go-to podcast for health, fitness and entertainment. Today's guest episode is with the hottest, the sexiest, the most admirable person that I could get on the show, and it is my lovely wife today. We are talking about Gillian's story, and then we're also going to dive into, about 60 minutes in, we dive into the title of what you see on today's show, which is things we wish we knew before going into business together, or going into business with your spouse. The first 60 minutes-ish is talking about Gill's story. Everyone's always a wee bit hesitant to talk about their story, and Gill was to begin with, but we dive into that, and mainly her whole leap from going through the corporate ladder and making the transition into running her own business and being self-employed and all that sort of stuff. Now, as always, if you didn't already follow Gillian, I'm going to leave a link to her social channels below, where you can find out all things to do with social media, marketing and all that good stuff. And if you're coming across the podcast for the first time, I release episodes every Monday and Thursday at 6 a.m. Monday's episodes is typically a solo episode, deep diving into the variety of topics of health, fitness and what's trending in the market. Thursday's episode, typically I bring a guest on, dive into their story a little bit and dive deeper into the subjects that they are more passionate about. Now, you can find me on Instagram at Coach Crossar, or you can find the podcast page at Bulletproof Mindset __. If you're watching on Spotify or watching on YouTube or listening wherever, it'd mean the world to me. If there's one way you can support the podcast is by leaving a 5-star rating. So if you enjoyed today's episode, which I'm sure you're going to, then consider leaving that. And without further ado, let's get into today's episode. Well, did you tell us about that story? You know, want to dive into that? Right, okay. Right, so for the audience, introduce yourself. Who are you? I've been waiting to get you on for ages and ages, but you've been so busy.
I don't think that's the truth. The audience have wanted me on, but you've put me off.
Shall we actually talk about why you're on tonight? There was two things that's happened. One, I guessed cancelled last minute, but it's not that. No, but it's not that I've just pulled you in with that. But Gillian was giving it all big licks, like you should bring me on, and sitting acting all Billy Big Bollocks.
So many people have asked, when are you getting Gillian on the podcast?
Oh, here we are.
Now I regret saying this.
So Gill's obviously new into the whole world of self-employment and all this sort of stuff, running a business, but being in front of a camera, nerve-wracking still?
Kind of. It's not as bad as it was at the start, and I think now that I'm doing content for other people and helping them on camera, it's easier, but this is a whole new side of it because I've never done a podcast before, and you think talking in front of my husband, who I've been with for 12 years, would not be nerve-wracking?
Yeah, it'll be even more comfortable.
Yeah, I think it is, because if I had to do my first podcast with somebody random, it would be even more nerve-wracking. So at least you'll be my guinea pig. All
right, cheers.
Well, I'm not your first choice for the podcast. So
no, you're the coach behind Coach Crossar, as I said in my wedding vows. Wedding speech, whatever you want to call it. That is technically a vow, though.
Yeah.
Still waiting in mine from you.
I don't say a wedding speech.
I know, but why should I get up in front of an audience and speak out, and then you get to?
I would have, but because of the way that.
Oh, here we go. I've actually got a question I'm going to ask you later on.
The reason that happens, do you not know why that happens? That no women traditionally speak at a wedding, because now that the man, so the dad gives his daughter away, like my dad gave me away. He said his speech, he said his say, you said your say, because he was handing it over to you, and now I don't say anything for the rest of my life. That's how it's meant to be.
I fucking wish that was the case, because that's not the case.
I have men, it's like that's what it was though.
It's the power play of a man.
In America though, like the bridesmaids speak and stuff like that, but not really much. Well, that doesn't really happen much here. If I asked Kirsty to speak, she'd probably have had a heart attack. So
we'll obviously dive into how strong opinionated you are on certain subjects, which it's not a bad thing. I'm just saying, like, what would you class that umbrella as? I was trying to think of the word there. Like being would you say you're a feminist? Like the true definition of what feminism's about?
Being a feminist is supporting females.
Oh,
so why would I not be? I feel everyone should be a feminist. I think everyone thinks a feminist is someone who hates men, and
We got to say a hair colour there.
no, who hates men and thinks all men are horrible. I don't. I just think the majority of men. No, I'm kidding. I think being a feminist, like, I would hope to class you as a feminist, because being a feminist is supporting women and having equal rights for females.
See, you should be happy with this reply. There's only one woman I care about. That's you, right? But even that wouldn't be good enough in your standards.
It's not good enough. Obviously, I want you to care about me, but like,
Nah, I'm only messing. I'm only messing.
To stand up for other women if they're not.
No, of course.
In the way they should be treated.
Got many female clients.
Exactly.
Throw a name under the bus.
No, that's what I'm saying. I think you are, like, I know we joke about stuff a lot of the time because you just do it to wind me up, and I reply calling you a Tory. So.
Whoa. Fucking chill. There's no need to bring it. I'm actually a wee bit nervous to what sort of stories you're going to bring up in this podcast. That's why people want it on. Right, so speaking of stories then, so you were just saying before we started this, you're not important, you've not got a story, and that's a big bugbear that I have with anyone. Everybody's got a story, but especially my bloody wife, been with you for 12 years, and when you say stuff like that, yes, you do. I've been with you for a majority of it. So I think maybe briefly run through your story. I think this would be a good exercise for you. Put you on the spot, dive into it. Where you want to start?
That's the same. Where do you start?
Tell me. When were you born?
I was born on the 9th of February 1994.
And then walk us through life from that point.
Are you actually serious?
No, like what stands out to your mind when someone asks you, like, tell us something about you, tell us about your story?
I grew up in a family with my mum and dad, sister. Then my mum and dad separated when I was 7. I want to say 7. Grew up, I don't know, like I grew up in Wisha and then went to school there.
What was your dream? What was your dream growing up?
It changed a lot.
What was one of the ones that come to mind?
So I wanted to be a mermaid to start with, which hasn't really changed. And then it changed to a window cleaner.
What do you mean it hasn't really changed?
That's quite.
That's like mermaids ain't real.
But you never know.
All right, okay.
Like we stopped discovering. We stopped. What's the word I'm looking for? Stopped investigating the sea, and no one knows why.
Okay. And
because there's mermaids.
Window cleaner seems like a drastic transition.
I just thought they had a really cool job going up in ladders all the time. So. Window cleaner. So
standards when they set very high.
Mermaids and window cleaner, like that's.
Yeah. Right. When did you get more serious about like career choices?
Well, I wanted to be a DJ. That was my thing for a while, because my mum worked at a radio station for a while with her now husband, so my now stepdad. And he was a radio presenter, and I thought it was really cool because I used to get to go on like all the events the radio station did and got to meet don't know if you remember One True Voice.
See, I don't, but wonder if any of the listeners will remember. Are you sure that's their name?
No, that is. I'm sure.
One True Voice.
One True Voice. They were a boy
Sing.
band.
What was the song? What was one of their songs?
I couldn't even sing you a song. I can't remember.
Were they Scottish? I take it.
Mm-hmm. But they got to, so I got to meet them and stuff like that. But I got to host my own breakfast show, and I came up with my own radio name, which was DJ Chloe Banks. And that's who I called myself. And then I liked it so much that I had an email address that was djchloebanks@yahoo.com.
Poor Chloe Banks out there that might be a DJ trying. You've already stole the name for it. Why Chloe? Did you know where that came from?
No idea.
First name that came to mind.
That was really cool.
Interesting.
Her name was really cool, so with that, wanted to do that.
See, that seems better than just a mermaid and a window cleaner, but I can understand.
What did you
like
want to be when you grew up? When you were like a kid?
A lawyer. I don't know. I wanted to be a lawyer when I spoke about this. I remember, like, I vividly remember my mum asking me, and I remember where we were in Hamilton. I remember Lewis saying that he wanted to be an ice cream driver, which you can understand why, he's just eating hundreds of food all the time. And then mine was that I wanted to be a lawyer, and then an architect.
I remember the architect one.
Realising how much more school needed to happen, it just never became. Right, back to you then. So when did you realise the DJ path wasn't for you, or was that just something that sort of died out?
It fizzled out because my mum got a different job. I actually think it was that. And then going through school, funnily enough, you said architect. I wanted to be an interior designer, but learned I needed graphics. And I done graphics design, but I was really bad, and I got put in the foundation class, and Kirsty laughed at me because she called me a foundation child.
It's like a social status thing, isn't it?
Yeah. So I wasn't good at that either. And then just really liked fashion. Like I got into fashion, which you're totally going to tell by this podcast because you told me to do it 10 minutes after I'd done a High Rocks workout.
Yeah, so Jill's freaking out. Like,
right.
She's actually handling it better than what you would maybe 10 years ago.
I'd hope.
Yeah, but what I mean is, like, it was all about need to be dressed well, need to have makeup on before I leave the house. You were one of those people that dressed up to go to the gym at the start. You would have makeup on to go to the gym to try and, I don't know who you're trying to impress. You're with me.
I didn't have a boyfriend.
No, you did. I was with you. So
what was out there?
Exactly. Obviously, wasn't that
body pump class?
Aye, body pump, legs, bums, and tums, which was funny. So, in fairness, like, I think you look great. I always think you look great, but you're too harsh on yourself.
Thanks. Just
go for the all natural look. Love the sweat, curls, and all that sort of stuff.
High Rocks workout with Nicola. So.
Right. So, fashion was what you ended up pursuing, right?
Yes.
When did you realise you couldn't make a career out of that?
I've not yet.
You're not yet? No, seriously?
No, I think it's not that I didn't realise I didn't make a career out of it. Like I went to uni, studied fashion, absolutely loved it. Went to summer school in Madrid.
Cool opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely loved it. Like I went to Madrid and thought I met this girl from Google. She came to the talk and I thought she was the coolest girl I've ever met because she turned up to the university in Madrid on a red Vespa. It just looked super cool and worked for Google. Like that's like a dream. But then I came home, finished uni, and then realised there were no fashion jobs in Scotland. Like if you wanted a fashion job in Scotland, you had to work in retail, which ironically I didn't want to do. And then I ironically moved to Nottingham and did that exact thing. A lot of people in my uni course moved to London and worked there, but that's probably like putting them under one blanket, but they had mummy and daddy's money and could do that because it was all like unpaid
roles, internships
and stuff like that, and I wasn't in that position that I could do it. So.
You're resentful?
No, I'm not resentful. It's not, because I don't know. I think if you were doing that, I'd say why go to uni for 4 years when you could just have went to London in the first place and done internships. I feel like you could have skipped that.
Serious question about uni then. Do you wish you did skip? If you had to do it again, would you skip that chapter? I know there's good. You never want to regret anything, but like realistically, if you had to go through that now, would you skip that whole chapter and go straight into something more paid or whatever?
I'd skip it now, but I wouldn't not go. And it's not just not having regrets. Like I still don't believe I'd be where I am right now if I didn't go to uni. But that's not saying I couldn't be where I am if I didn't go to uni.
But that's the whole...
Sense. But I know, I got a graduate job and we moved to Nottingham because of that graduate job. We wouldn't have moved to Nottingham if I didn't go to university. And I think Nottingham was like a really big changing part in both our lives, where if that didn't happen, I don't actually know if we'd have this business. I don't know if we'd have went self-employed. I'm not entirely sure because we moved away when we were 21 from all our friends and family, which was like a super big leap. And I think that gave us the confidence that we probably needed to do other stuff. Like, we still worked in corporate for, 2-3 years after until you made the leap?
From Nottingham?
Yeah.
That was 2 years, but I was all in. I think it was 7 years all in. I want to say anywhere from 6, 7 or 8. I think I throw out a different number every time I bring it up, but you get what?
Yeah, I think like if I hadn't went to university, I wouldn't have done that. And yeah, if I hadn't went to university, I don't know what I would have done though, because I wouldn't have got a fashion job in Scotland, and I wouldn't have been able to move to London or move to another. Like if I told my mum and dad I'm going to move to a different country when I was 18, when I finished school, what's up, Coops? They probably wouldn't have allowed it. I mean, they couldn't have physically done anything if I said I'm 18, I'm moving. Like, but how was I going to do that? I didn't have money. Like, me and my mum were living in a flat in Hamilton, so she didn't have money to send me to London or something like that.
So Nottingham, I think you're right, was probably the biggest growth part for both of us. What was your favourite part about that part? So moved away, no friends, no family, just us two, fresh 3-year relationship at this point, and a hope and a dream.
Was that
2 maybe.
2 and a bit, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I still think it's kind of wild when you think we did it. Like, I think when you say like you moved country, people think you moved to somewhere exotic. We moved to Nottingham. It's like not that exotic. But I think like when
Be.
Yeah. When I remember like getting the job offer, I mean, you were on holiday in Jamaica, and that was like our first big holiday, and I got the job, and they were like, I applied for it because I thought it was in Scotland, and they said we can't offer you a place in Scotland, but we can offer you a place in Nottingham, and it was York at the time, wasn't it? It was York, which was probably nicer than Nottingham because York's actually a really nice place, and I remember saying to you, I was like, I can't move, like I can't move myself. I'm only 21, and you said I'll move with you, and I went okay, and that was it. Like there was no,
it was a simple decision
conversation. That was it. And then I remember phoning mum, being like, I got a job. Me and Dale are moving to Nottingham. Like we just told everybody. There was no conversation of should we weigh this up? Can we afford to do this? What are you doing? What am I doing? It was like you just said I'll come with you, and I said okay. And
I remember a wee bit of pacing, but
I remember pacing up and down the room, but like I think that was before you said. Because I don't think I would have done it on my own, to be completely honest. I like to think of myself as a very independent person, but I don't think I would have moved to Nottingham on my own because I was only 21.
See, when you think about the people you were in your uni class and they all went to London and done all these things, just as a side note, is anyone doing anything fashion related from what you know?
Yeah, a few of
them. Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Fair play.
Yeah, a couple of men in London doing stuff.
There's a few people always say about Cooper's just lay on the actual lead that's charging the cameras, and I bet he's going to pull out any second. But anyway, people always say like uni, biggest waste of time if you're not using your degree and all that sort of stuff. But I think you've hit the nail on the head. Like it wasn't. You could argue, yeah, okay, because you're not doing anything it, but that actually either postponed and somehow navigated you into like where you've went with your career. So saying that you don't have a story so far, we've got a bit of a story. So we're in Nottingham for a couple of years, and early on something big happened. Then we just moved away, and then big drastic change. The graduate job that you'd taken, what happened with that?
I was like,
you just
happened?
forget about that.
Yeah,
that is
I was looking at you, I was like,
one
what
of the
happened?
first. That was one of the
Like,
first major milestones. We had moved away, and we were like, no freaking out, but it was like it's quite a stressful thing to go through.
I think like because we moved down, worked for BHS on their graduate program, and I've been working there for like 6 months or something, and then there was rumours of it starting to close down. I don't remember panicking that much at first. I think
You swear.
No, but I think at first it was like, oh, it'll be fine.
I think it was a wee bit of denial that
how
they were selling it.
They kept saying like, oh, it's fine, we'll find a buyer, they won't shut down and stuff like that, and everyone was okay. And then Nicola, who I went to uni with but didn't speak to, and then she ended up getting the same job as me but in a different area. She was moving in with us like that, 6 months after we'd lived there, was that? And she moved in, which is quite funny because I'd spoke to her through work, like through this new job, and then she was...
I'm sure the plan was originally...
No, the plan was she messaged me, and
but then she moved
said,
to another bit.
No, she messaged me saying, hey, I found, turns out I've got a job at BHS, we went to uni together, we were in the same class for like a couple of things, what do you think about like getting a flat together? And I just replied like, I don't know how to this day we're still friends because we're coming up in 10 years being friends. I replied saying, sorry, I'm getting a place with my boyfriends, like good luck bitch. Basically. Aye. And she was like, all right, okay. But she ended up in Leeds and we were in Nottingham, but she ended up coming in, so she moved in with us. But it was when she was driving down to move in with us, it came out saying that BHS was closing down, so that was interesting. That was fun. That was like a bit of a baptism of fire because it was me and Nicola were running like massive department stores because everybody else quit or got different jobs, and because we couldn't find a job yet, me and her were running like stores on our own when we were 21 and didn't really have a clue what we're doing, but had completely different priorities. Like I remember we'd planned a night out and we were working in Sheffield, and a guy came in and he was absolutely raging because we weren't refunding something, and he threatened to set the shop on fire with everybody in it. And we like calmed him down and he left, but we left 5 minutes later because we had a table booked at Revolution and we wanted to go out that night, and it was 2 for 1. And remember driving away, like thinking, should we have left that store? Like, are we going to come back and it's going to be on fire? Because we stupid 21-year-olds were on charge of stuff. But.
Yeah. So I like that whole part. Like that's quite mad to go through, and I think it's weird thinking back at that because you're just like, why would you let someone dictate that? And obviously we'll come on to that in a wee sec. But so that whole experience, can you remember much how? Like where your head was going with stuff? Was it just I need to get another job or?
Yeah, I think it definitely was. I need to get another job, and I just didn't know what I wanted to do because I knew when I got that job in PHS, even though it was retail, it was like store manager. I knew I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to work in a store. I wanted to be. I think at the time I wanted to be a buyer, so I wanted to work in fashion buying.
Oh yeah, I remember you. Remember you applied for that job? Was it quiz?
Yeah.
Aye, talk about being what is it? Body. No, sexist. What's the word I'm looking for?
I know what you mean now. I can't think what it is like.
Like it's the like there's body positivity and there's
Body
rules.
shaming, but it's not body shaming.
Aye, there's like rules that you need to follow. Make sure body discrimination. That's it. So
applied for their buying admin assistant job, which is basically like the entry job for buyers. So kind of what you're doing is just logging stuff in a system. But they said that you had to be a size 8, you had to be 5'10", I think it was, and then you had to be comfortable with wearing fake tan, because basically
what an outrageous thing that would never fly in 2024.
That goes viral, and then they come because now they wouldn't because this was like
of course, but they still did. That was in the job. You get knocked back because you didn't meet that criteria.
Yeah,
because I remember we were speaking. I was like, surely it's not like just applying, and it was like
basically they used the buyer admins as models as well.
Which, in fairness, is a fair point, but still.
Yeah, you can't get that away with that now, saying if you want this job, you need to be 5'10", a size 8, and wear
end of the day, it's their company, but...
And I'm 5 foot.
Nah, you're screwed.
Don't like fake tan.
Sure about that?
Yeah.
You put it on for High Rocks?
And it was a disaster. It was streaky. Remember San Francisco? I was...
I didn't think it was that bad. That one was more moderate. I mean, you see some people with fake tan, and it's like...
I wish I could be good at it. I'm just not good at it at all.
No, better without it. Right, so looking to get a job. What happens next?
So I got a job at Smith's toy shop.
Oh, so you did? Remember that? You were you never took it, didn't you? In the end. But I remember I remember you trying to tell me, should I take this? And I remember going, it's a bit of an ick, man. It's a bit of no, I would never tell this to you at the time, but you were emotionally like challenged and distraught and stressed and all this sort of stuff, like really worried about making sure we've got money coming in because we're paying rent.
This is the first time
it's just us two. We weren't relying on any parents' money.
Like my mum or dad for money, and we were paying rent on our first house. For some reason, we decided to get a 3-bedroom house. Well, same for some reason.
Even like that, like that was 675. Yeah,
we both had cars. We had to pay. We both had phone bills. Like. And I just thought I need
just
to
being an adult.
Yeah, and I know, but like not a lot. If we remember thinking about it, like because none of our friends had those responsibilities, apart from like Nicola, for example, because she was moving down. Like none of our friends at that age had that responsibility. Like they were all still living with mum and dad. A lot of them were still at uni, or my friends were still at uni. They had their car and their phone bill, and that was kind of it. Like, because remember when our friends used to come down and visit us, they're like, "That's amazing, you've got your own house." Like, this is so cool.
Yeah.
Like they never.
Aye, but the Smith's job was a wild. Like, I can't believe you. Like that was actually.
I was just applying for anything because I was.
I was actually thinking. So I was like, at least we get discounts. Cause I remember we were looking at the pros of the job, and it's like, oh, you get like 30-40% off toys, and it's like.
No, but it wasn't toys. It was Xbox games. You're excited.
Oh, that's what it was.
Like, why would you want like a Spider-Man toy?
No, I meant for like recent things like that. So you never took that job. Because
I think it just
fate works itself out, maybe.
No, well, I didn't have anything. I said no to it. I didn't have anything.
What did you?
Knew it wasn't right. Like the contract came through. Remember, it was like
60 hours. Yeah.
I don't want to work 6 hours in a toy shop. Like that's horrendous.
Why not?
And then I landed my first marketing job in Boots head office in Nottingham, which I think was probably the start. Well, it was like the start of my marketing career.
So did you know much about marketing before then?
At uni, because it was fashion marketing.
Oh yeah, so it was, yeah.
But it's quite funny, I can't remember, I was telling this recently. When I studied like the e-commerce part of module of my course was about the internet and how the internet was launched, and this wasn't like
Such
I'm
a
not
dinosaur.
that old.
Yes, you are.
I'm not that old.
You need to accept you are.
I'm not. The internet was born in like what 19 something.
You tell me.
I don't know. Can't remember.
When do you think?
I don't know, like 1995.
It's close. I think it's like the .com bubble was 99.
Close 4 years.
So,
but it wasn't like it was only got a slight bit of social media in it. So it's things like that, like going back to the uni thing, things like that.
1993 actually.
Things like that, and like when you go back to university, like it changes so quickly. Like if I got my marketing book out, the core principal stuff like price, promotion, place, that's like the basics of marketing, the core principles of marketing. The book, the 500-page textbook that I read, a lot of it will be the same. But then when it comes to stuff like social media, the internet,
it's evolved so quickly. Trends and
you can teach that in uni, but by the time you're out of uni, it's changed. Like you just need to teach yourself it and keep up with industry trends and what's happening.
I know, because like TikTok wasn't even a thing when we were in Nottingham.
Instagram was hardly a thing when I was at uni. I think it just launched.
Snapchat was the thing to start, and then it died. Now it's back.
That was one of our modules. Was like how can a fashion brand use Snapchat?
Yeah, so that's all crazy. So this is where the idea's born for where you're at now. So you get to go into this world of marketing. Did you think you can make a job out of that? Was it something that just never crossed your mind, or were you just like,
what of marketing?
Yeah.
Well, again, I wanted to be a buyer. I still had in my head I wanted to be a buyer, but.
And what was the difference for people listening between?
So a buyer is someone who, like selects the product, so like chooses what's going to be in that line of products. So I then went on to be a buyer in skincare. So I chose what products we were going to list in Boots, negotiated pricing on it, make sure we had enough profit coming in, make sure we were selling enough product and stuff like that. Which I didn't actually realise at the time is a lot of maths, and I'm really not good at maths.
Yeah. So me and Jillian joke all the time that I've got straight up dyslexia, which, as you'll know for listening to the podcast and seeing my Instagram captions and misspellings and all that sort of stuff. But Jill has number dyslexia, which is an actual thing.
It's an actual thing. It's not called number dyslexia. It's called.
Figure out what it's called.
But so, it's just for some reason I can't remember numbers. Like you could tell me a number right now.
And the weird thing is, you'll argue back when I say no, it's £100, and you're like, no, it's not. It's £30. Like, it's not £30 shilling. It's £100.
And I'm like totally out.
Like it's like miles out.
Like we were talking about the High Rocks row times earlier. Could not tell you what a clue they were.
I can't even say that word. Dyscalculus, is that what that says? Go on, try that one. Dyscalculia.
I don't know what it is.
Get wee apple.
But yeah, so I realised in buying.
There you go.
This will kill you.
This will kill you.
Yeah, I didn't realise at the time that buying was basically numbers.
So fast forward then. So that's where we ended up. Sorry, that's where you ended up working for the majority of your time in Nottingham.
Which I absolutely loved. Like I absolutely loved working in Boots. It was really fun. I got to work with some really cool brands. Got to meet some like really lovely people in Nottingham, but then also working in Boots because there was like, I'm going to say celebrities because they're not really celebrities. Like I got to meet Jamie Lang because we were doing you don't know who Jamie Lang is, made in Chelsea. Never mind.
Jamie Lang?
Yeah, he's made Chelsea's hairline was like the one that goes back there.
Shots fired.
But like it was really fun, it was really exciting. Like I think for like a buying, like I loved the buying side of it. It was just the maths side I wasn't great at, but I learned it and I somehow became finance lead for the team.
I know, that was wild.
Blows my mind.
I remember you telling me, I need prep for the finance meeting in the morning. I'm like, God help them, man.
But even still at that, like I still find it crazy. Like something, what age was I then? Like 23 or 24, and I was leading like finance meetings with our finance director of Boots. Like that's.
But that's cool opportunities.
Yeah, like I think that's again, like if I hadn't done that, like that builds confidence. Like I remember going into those meetings and I was absolutely like crapping it. And I think if we stayed in Nottingham, well, I don't know now. Like maybe I would be self-employed by now. I don't know, but I think I would definitely have like moved up to be because like the manager I was working with, like she was prepping me to move up to like buying manager, senior buying manager, and stuff like that. Which I would have loved.
Yeah, so I like it opened up so many doors, and it was quite good to see the supplier side of things, because I think maybe scratched the itch for what you would have done in the fashion world with different lines, maybe not with clothes, but you get to kind of do it in the terms of
Like,
products.
skincare.
For skincare. Yeah, so you kind of still had something that you've always been quite regimented and passionate about your skincare routine and all that sort of stuff.
If only you were to.
Cold water.
Every other month.
It's like a typical guy. I've got one
And
bottle.
then it glows.
I know. So who's the fool here?
I have a theory though that your face is just that dirty, so you clean it every other month and then it glows.
It's not actually glowing. It's just like less
you've got
dirty.
The dirt off.
So your boot starts to come to an end, because obviously two things actually happen. You start running events. Remember, that was another big thing as well, and that was the first time I think I saw that you. I think if I remember right, your drive for work was getting lower and lower, because like any corporate job, more and more responsibilities get put on, but your wage doesn't reflect that. And we're starting to look at what is a competitive salary for someone of what you were doing, and it was like 10 grand out in some cases. So when you look back at it, like we're 24, 25k.
Yeah, like salary, like I don't know what boots are like now, but boots were known for being
lower.
Not the best pay, but you got really good opportunities. Yeah. So it's kind of trying to balance that.
So it's a hard one to like pick and choose. But I remember you got to run a couple of events in boots as well, and
a couple of skincare conferences. So it's like bringing everyone together and doing a lot of project management with it, which I really enjoyed and loved doing the event side, and loved, now looking back on it, like I had to create a lot of content for it. So like to create the content that went out on the day, create content from the day to like then send out to suppliers and stuff like that. And maybe
I think that's what you loved the most.
Which I've probably not actually realised until now.
See, podcasts are great. See, when you dive in, everybody's got a story.
That's why it's like that.
So that was something I remember you were like always buzzing about, very nervous with. And then
that was the first time I got to speak on stage as well, because I spoke in front of like 500 people about a skincare routine.
I know, it's hilarious. It's good that it kind of pushes you out your comfort zone, and you're also invited back the next year to run it again, and then given more budget and all that. All that sort of stuff. I drank too much water before this. So what happens next then? So you're still in your head. It's like climb the corporate ladder, but then
me and you went to the Dominican Republic and we got engaged.
It was quite cool, wasn't it?
That was alright. Yeah, cool.
That's some husband you've got.
You had wore red Converse though, so
the pictures are hilarious, guys. If you're ever going to propose, right, just make sure it's a timeless piece that you end up wearing. I understand why people wear shirts and like maybe a shirt and trouser and black shoes. Me, I went with grey jeans, a blue shirt, and red Converse.
Jean shorts.
Jorts. Jorts is a man's shorts, especially if you get muscular legs. But that's never aged well. There's the picture of that night where I wear all white.
White skinny jeans, white shirt, and red.
You know what? You're to blame for that.
I thought it was cute.
No, like
time.
I have to admit, you pushed my fashion and why my fashion was evolved, because you remember the fashionista is the word that we used to always chuck about to each other, and you'd said to me that looks really nice
at the time,
but you should have known through your fucking 4 years at uni that wouldn't age well. If there's one picture that's going to stick with us for the rest of life, it's going to be our wedding day pictures. No, but you knew, like, true, that's a fair point. That night though, you knew I had proposed, so you knew that picture was going to stick
a bit
about.
Of a bubble. I wasn't thinking about your trainers. It's not all about you.
Absolutely ripped. So I'll throw the picture up if you're watching on YouTube or Spotify.
When you're talking about fashion,
a belter.
When I met you, you had 2 pairs of jeans. That's all you owned, and they were diesel jeans that went past. Police. Sorry, yeah, not diesel.
That's too high.
Police jeans.
G-Star ones as well.
You wore them like halfway down your butt. So as if like
gangster.
You're a gangster, but you're the whitest person ever.
What's wrong with that? I like the style.
Yeah,
shall we bring up some of your old?
And then you used to. It was the Family Guy jumper you wore with it, which I been.
So everyone will remember Primark in its prime, Rihanna t-shirts, brown chinos, and like they still do it. Like it's like anime t-shirts now, so I'm still tempted to buy them, but it's just Family Guy. Right, so propose.
Yeah, so we went to Dominican
all this sort of
Republic,
stuff,
and then you proposed, and I think I don't know if like you felt like that, but when you proposed, it was like, oh, maybe you never, because you knew you were going to propose. I didn't know you were going to propose, but you then somehow come to like a bit of a crossroads. Not, am I going to say yes, because I said yes, obviously, but like a crossroads of, right, do we get married straight away, settle down, have kids, or like we always had in our head we were going to go travelling, and I always had in my head I wanted to live in London. Like I remember that night I applied for a job in London, like the night we got proposed, or the next night we got proposed. I done it on holiday.
I remember looking at the BT portal and I was like, oh, I can do the same job for an extra 30 grand more, or 10, 20 grand
it's
more.
It's weird, like, it's like you get engaged, and I don't know if it's because we got engaged younger. Like if we got engaged, for example, like now.
I don't think it was young though.
No, I'm not saying it was like
25, 26.
Yeah. I mean, like if we got engaged now, I don't think we'd be at a crossroads, because of it later in life. Maybe we would, I don't know. But I think I felt like I was like, right, what do we do now? Do we get married? Do we settle down? Do we buy a house? Do we do this? But like I always had in my head, I want to live in London and I want to go travelling. And then obviously we spoke about that and we decided, right, let's, before we buy a house, because we'd heard of friends starting to buy houses and stuff like that. And
also doing the math and what we were paying on a mortgage for someone else's mortgage, you just start to become a wee bit more financially competent, and I think that was one reason.
Yeah, but I think like whenever we heard of our friends buying houses, I didn't get jealous or didn't think, oh yeah, that's what I want to do. But when I heard of other people in work, for example, taking a year off to travel, I'm like, oh, I'm jealous. That's definitely what I want to do. So that's when we decided. That's when we spoke about it and decided, let's do Australia. Let's travel to Australia. And no, that's not right, actually.
It was before all that.
Yeah.
It was the other way about. It was. I was thinking when you're saying that, I was like, no, it wasn't. No, but we were still going to. I think we were still going to travel.
Yeah, we were going to travel. We were going to go to Australia for like a year, I think we thought, and then.
No, wasn't it? I know what it was. It was Disney.
Remember? That was that.
No, but that kickstart the whole like
travel.
Here, let's not live here. Let's go. Let's travel. Let's experience life. But just in the midst of all that as well, there was a proposal.
Yeah, but we said like, okay, let's do Australia for a year, and then we'll move back home, because we're like Kirsty had Elijah, my nephew, and it felt like we're missing out on some things, and we're like, we're only going to stay in Nottingham for a year, but we ended up staying for 4 years. So we're like, let's do Australia for a year, and then let's move home, and then that's us kind of like done our stint. Mm-hmm. And then obviously that never happened because my mum got breast cancer and I couldn't leave her. I didn't think I could. And then
she survived it all, by the way. She's alive. You've just left that as if like that was it and it was done.
Good now.
Yeah. So
but I couldn't have, because I remember like you were there in the appointment, the surgeon, like I think
trying to encourage
the surgeon, like she's thinking like they're going to Australia, they've got their visas, and he was like, she'll be fine on you going. Like I'm glad I never, because even though she's fine, I don't think she wouldn't have been fine if I wasn't there. And also I wouldn't have enjoyed travelling, knowing like she was going through surgery and chemo and stuff like that. Yeah. So obviously we never went travelling, we came home.
So yeah, but I think like a big part of that was it wasn't a pressure, but it was, I remember every time we drove up to Scotland and we drove back home,
it was really
like
hard.
You had a lot of, I think it was maybe guilt you were feeling that you were leaving your mum behind. So it just made that, again, it was like the move to Nottingham. We didn't really speak at length with it. It was just, look,
probably go home.
Let's apply for jobs back home and we'll move home. And I knew I would get a transfer at some point, but we waited for you to see what you could get.
Yeah, I remember every time like driving away from my mum's, like I'd cry the full time just because.
It's not a nice thing for like the person alone going through it, but it's just you want to help someone, but you can't. Yeah. I'm laughing because Cooper is at the mic now because of the story, by the way. I see the hair's going everywhere. Right, so decision was made, moved back home. Obviously, you weren't quite happy with the decision that you made. I actually remember I was arguing a good few times about this.
About what?
Like, you used to throw that you made me take this job type of thing. Let's talk about that.
Oh no, that was a joke.
No, it was
no,
a wee
it
bit.
wasn't, because you used to throw. And again, it wasn't. It was a joke. You used to say you moved to Nottingham for me.
It wasn't a joke. You're right. I'm only messing. I was saying it tongue in cheek, but
Yeah, I'd say it tongue in cheek.
I benefited from
But
it.
I think I felt a lot of pressure also to take the job that I got when I moved home. Like, I worked for a whiskey company in Edinburgh, which they shall not be named, because it was probably the worst job I've ever had. Just absolutely. So there was no purpose. There was also, again, it was a commercial role, which was to do with numbers.
Yeah.
Again, why did I take a number job? I just hated it.
It just became a job that you never liked, and so this was a bit ironic, because this was like the whole, you want to break up with someone and then they end up breaking up with you, so you ended up getting paid off from this role. And I'll never forget that day. That was actually, did I laugh when you told me, or did I keep it in? Was it, or did we just laugh back at it now?
It was basically like, I'd been looking for a new job. I got a job, an events role, because I thought that's what I wanted to do, events management. I got a job, got offered the job, and then this was a week before COVID. So they offered me an events job, and they were like, "We've got this job, congratulations, you got it." I was amazing. I was so happy. I was so excited because I got out of that place and it was events and I was doing what I wanted to do. And then COVID hit, and we thought COVID was going to be 2 weeks. So we were like, "We'll get back to you in 2 weeks with a start date. We just need to figure out what's happening." Then obviously COVID was longer, and they kept in touch, being like, it might be a month, might be 2 months, and then they just
Disappeared.
But no wonder they ghosted me, because it was 2 years of COVID, so they couldn't do events, so they didn't need an events manager. And then I was applying for so many different jobs, but because COVID, no one was hiring, so I was just still staying on the job I was doing. But then they had to make redundancies because they weren't getting as much money in, because people weren't coming in to buy whiskey into like their bar. And then I get made redundant, and that's the first time I'd ever been fired.
BHS.
Oh yeah, but that's
what I mean. Like, I remember this. You're like under. This was one of the things you remember feeling like a failure because you applied to get into uni. Remember that one? No, where you tried you thought like you really had a midlife crisis, like mid 20s when you think about it.
It was during COVID though, so
I just wasn't sure what
I wanted to be a midwife.
Want to try the midwife, go back to uni, and we spoke about it, and I was like, "Look, cool if you think that's what you want to do."
So glad
yeah. Anyway, BHS being let go, and then the whiskey place being let go of that. All under the age of 27. Yeah. So I think at this point, morals. I think
that's what I'm looking for. So, we had just bought a house.
Yeah, but luckily, like we were in an okay position. Wasn't it like super great or super bad? Like we're fortunate enough that BT they didn't make any. We actually just stayed open, so we knew that job was sort of safe there. But I remember you felt really lost. Yeah,
because I just didn't know what I was doing. I was cleaning the house every single day. Like we had the cleanest house ever and the tidiest garden ever, because I just didn't know what I was doing in life, so I just cleaned like for ages. And then we got Cooper.
We got Cooper out of that as well.
And then also to add to that pile, we had to reschedule our wedding because of COVID. So it wasn't a really fun time. And then we thought, it was quite a stupid decision. We thought, we've just bought a house. I've just lost my job. So all the money was relying on you coming in until I could find another job in COVID. Let's buy a dog for $2,000.
Yeah, but that was the best. That was the best decision to make.
Like when looking back, that's a really bad financial decision.
Irresponsible, but
because the dogs are so expensive.
That's why I know, like, always having faith that things work out.
Yeah, and it has, and it's fine.
So let's just talk about the mindset going through that. Would you say that's like the lowest point of life so far?
Yeah, I think it's definitely been one of them. There is a few other things that come to mind, like throughout other stuff, but probably been one of them. But I think now when you look back, I'm like,
it wasn't as big a deal.
Yeah,
it's quite important though, for because when you're in the shit and you're in the crappy place, seems way bigger than what it actually is, and it's like the whole this too shall pass. It's like that. Is that from? I was gonna say the Book of God. No, is that from the Bible? It's like, I don't know, it's like some form of stoicism of some sort, and it's like the farmer was happy that too will pass. The farmer was sad, that too, like the feelings that he was feeling, and it's just doesn't matter what you experience. There's always going to be a bit that goes by it, and that's the continuation of life and that sort of stuff. But
it was though, when I told you, obviously I was upset and I was crying that I'd lost my job, and the words you said to me was, "Only you can fix the way you feel right now."
I said, only you can control your emotions.
Yeah.
This was the time I started learning about self-development, and I was like, wow, the power of the mind, this is crazy. And that was a fun time.
I've used that back on you a couple of times.
It's like, shut the fuck up.
I know, actually, like, shut up. Anytime you're like a wee bit on edge, only you can control this daily.
Right, so let's kind of like round off the story of kind of where you're at today. So obviously things worked out and you got another job, maybe not quite what you wanted, but the attraction there was it was marketing. Yeah,
so I got a marketing job, a place for people. No, I was happy with that
really
job.
happy with it. But I remember like being on the fence beforehand.
I think it was just because I had been scarred by that other job. I was like, I want to make sure this is definitely the right job for me type thing.
And I remember it was like rejection after rejection after rejection because so much. There was I remember you were going on LinkedIn and it was like not even hearing from people, and that's a knock to the confidence. Doesn't matter how.
I think it was because it was during COVID. It was jobs were really, there wasn't a lot of people hiring.
Yeah,
and that got that job a place for people.
I remember that interview. Like you kind of knew on the spot that you'd smashed it. Yeah, you'd done a really good job with it.
So that was like marketing exec. Really enjoyed it, loved it. Like Alison, my boss, she's one of the best bosses I've had. Like she was at our wedding, like absolutely loved. Her and she like really helped me with a lot of development stuff, and then
she was a proper leader.
Yeah, and then she pushed me to progress, and then got a job as a what did I get a job as? Senior content.
See, it's all these are all made up roles. See, when you leave the world of corporate world, you realise
content executive, which was a maternity cover in the same company, but it was more senior and it was more focused on content. And I think again that's when I realised like I absolutely love content. Like I spent most of my days writing blogs and articles, and I absolutely loved it, and social posts and stuff like that. And then it just really weirdly progressed. Like I was only with Place for People for 3 years, but went from a marketing exec to senior content manager. I was leading a team within those 3 years. But I think a lot of that was like I built confidence and asked, like at my last job, I asked, can I have that job? Like I wasn't qualified whatsoever for that job. I'd been a manager for a week, and then the job came up as a senior manager. And I remember asking my boss Laura at the time, being like, what do I need to do to get to that? And she's like, we probably need to develop in this. And I was like, I think I could probably do that now. And I remember her going away, she was like, right, we'll need to have a think about it. I think you need a progression plan, like the corporate talk and stuff like that. And then 5 minutes later, she phoned me back. She's like, do you know what, let's just do it. Because she was like a really casual boss, like even though it's a corporate company, she's not corporate. She's like, let's just do it. And then I just learned as I went. Like I had no idea what I was doing.
It's the best way though.
I was managing a team of 6-7 people, and I had absolutely no clue what I was doing. I was trying to be one of those millennial bosses, like I'm cool, I'm just like you.
Just you. I drink coffee too, guys, even though you've never had a cup of coffee in your life.
Guys, here's some sweets.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
And then where we're at today. So why also making the leap to quit a good paid job, a very safe job. I'm sure anyone listening to this podcast, they've probably heard my story. Again, very similar, very safe, future proof, good pension, good benefits, Monday to Friday, work from home majority of the time, company car, yeah. Making that leap to leaving all that behind and pursuing something bigger. What kind of went through your mind with that?
So I'd planned to do it a year ago, and then I got the promotion, and that's what I think delayed it, because I planned to do it, and then that job came up, and I was like, I'll just put my shot out there, got the job, and that kind of put it off, because I thought like, right, no, I'm going to do this job. And I think it's similar to what you spoke about before. You get really excited, you absolutely love it, and then it just kind of, it was really shiny, but then it kind of wore off, because it's like, okay, what do I do next? Right, if I want to go up again, it's my boss Laura's job. Do I want that job? I'm not really sure. When would I get that job? Probably not for a few years now, because I've made the leap really quickly, and I probably wouldn't make that leap again. Am I happy doing this job for another like 3-4 years? I don't know. Not that there's anything wrong with the job. Like I absolutely loved. I would never have moved to a different company or anything like that. Like to do a different job. I've said that so many times. The only reason I would have left was to do this with you and build my own business. But I kept putting off because I was just, I don't know, it's just scary to do.
What are you scared of?
There's like the monetary part of it, because I was getting a really good wage. I was able, like, I didn't need to think about money. Like, we could go holidays, I could buy whatever I wanted at the title within reason, obviously. But I think a lot of it was like judgment from other people and from like friends, family, and like people I worked with. Like, when I felt like when I told them, they were going to be like, what makes you think you can do that? Or like, why do you think you're clever enough to do that? And no one, like none of my colleagues, even though they were gutted I was leaving, they were all like, that's amazing, you're gonna smash it.
Was that, do you think that's their judgment or your judgment?
It was me thinking they'd judge me. Like, I was scared to even post stuff on LinkedIn because I'm like, what are people going to think about me? Like, what are somebody I went to school with 10 years ago going to think about me now? Why would I care about that? But it just goes through your head. Even sometimes, like, it's not as much now when I post on Instagram, but when I started posting on Instagram, like, stuff about marketing, stuff like that, I'm like, people are going to laugh at me and think I'm stupid. But, like, who cares? Like, I don't see them anymore, so I just think I'm stupid, Like, so yeah.
And any advice, like, kind of to someone that's maybe on the fence, like, what kind of eventually made you make the leap? Was it just time, that it was an idea, you set an idea, and then the idea becomes that much more exciting to pursue than what you're currently doing?
Because, like, I was trying to do that job, and it was a big job, so it was a demanding job, but I was also trying to help as much here as I could. Like, you were trying to grow your personal training, you were trying to grow the studio, so my weekends would be spent here, most of my weekends spent here, my evenings, most of them would be spent here. And I think we just realised, like, this isn't working. Like, we can't we can't scale the business to the way we want to if I'm still going to be in a job. And I think it got to the point where you were like, we're going to need to hire someone for the studio if we want it to grow. And, like, I just thought there's absolutely no way.
You're letting someone else take it.
I know there's no way I could let someone else come in here and do what I probably want to do. And also, it's just stupid because, like, why would we do that when that's kind of what I've been doing in work? But I can't remember now what you asked me.
I was just saying, like, what would your advice be? Yeah.
I think just take the leap. Like, I think this is what.
But you've seen a lot of TikTok saying that. You've seen a lot of YouTube videos, Instagram. It was
one podcast I remember, as me and you were running around the track one morning, and I can't even remember who was on the podcast now, so we weren't that impactful. But it was a Skinny Confidential, and it was a husband and wife, and they both worked for the same company, and they were both, like, super high up. They were about to get, like, £100,000 or dollar bonus each if they stayed on for another 6 months to get their, like, annual bonus. But they were getting to the point where they're trying to grow their business as well, and then they thought, right, if it's now or never. If we don't do it now, we're going to lose everything. We can't progress with the business, and if we do it now, we can maybe make it big, but might not. And they, like, decided to quit their full-time jobs, like, lose out on $200,000 and just do it. And I just thought, if they can do it, why can't I do it? Because I'm not waiting on a bonus. I'm not waiting on anything like that. And it was just like a random podcast, I think, because I'd listened to so many different things. It was just that one for some reason.
That one just clicked.
I just thought, if they can do it, don't get me wrong, it's still another 4 months until I actually put my notice in. And I think the day I put my notice in, I didn't even tell you I was going to do it. Like, I phoned you crying, like, happy tears, because I was, like, absolutely buzzing. And I don't know what it was. Like, so many times I had tried to have that conversation with Laura, my boss, to say, like, this is what I'm going to do. So many times I phoned her and then changed the subject straight away because I was like, I can't do this. And it's funny because I don't know if she'll listen to this, but when I phoned her to tell her, or when I was going to phone her to tell her, I was hyped myself up and had practiced it. She answered the phone saying, I've had the worst day ever. Nothing can make this day any worse. And I was like, oh, I can't tell her now, which probably I could have, because then I could have made it worse. But I think it's, like, something I realised was, like, if it fails, I can get another job. Like, if we had to go out of business tomorrow, I'll get a job. Like, it might not be back up as a senior manager. I'll get a job in Domino's, and it's not as if there's anything wrong with that. I've done that.
Get sacked for that as well.
Sacked from Domino's because I wouldn't wear the trousers.
There, see, you're true fashionista at heart.
Exactly, I wouldn't wear Domino's trousers to deliver to the
I remember Jill left for that night. A wee bit of side tangent, but we're doing Jill get let go from the whiskey job, and it's like, I'll take this delivery job just now as I'm looking for places, just to get some money coming in. It's easy money in lockdown, in fairness.
Yeah,
and I remember leaving, I was like, fucking prick wants me to wear this, and I have to take my engagement ring off. So it's fucking pizza boxes.
I didn't make the pizzas. I didn't even touch them.
But I remember you leaving for work, and I was like, well, she is in a screamer of a mood. And I used to like when you went away for your night shift, because I was like, yes, I can game for like 2-3 hours. And I remember
home with a free pizza.
I come home with a free pizza as well. And I'd turn on the gaming setup. I think I played one game and I heard you come in. I was like, uh-oh, so what's happened? She's like, been fired.
I wasn't fired.
I quit. I know you said you quit, but then
I quit because he said, if you don't wear the trousers, you can't work here. And I was like, well, I'm not going to work here. And I stormed out. It was actually a stupid guy who thought
it's
I
a
was
job's worth.
hungry.
Another job's worth, isn't it?
It was so dramatic. And then he said to me, because I remember I had the Domino's t-shirt on and I had a vest up under it, and he was like, just come back with a uniform. And I just took the t-shirt off and like put it on the ground and stormed out.
I can take it. That's hilarious.
But,
so anyway, like on the fence,
like,
and all that sort of stuff. Like
if this failed tomorrow, like I can get another job like that. Is what I was like. It might not be the dream job, but I think if I looked back in my life and thought I should have taken that leap, I should have done that, I would regret it if I never done it. So, and we're 4 months in, we're still working. Right,
so let's get into the actual title of the episode. So rewinding a little bit, you definitely got a story, right? You just walk through your story, and whether you think it or not, I think everybody's got something that they've went through in life and good stories to share. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
As much as I knew every part of it, that was the hardest bit, walking you through that and going, I know what's coming next.
I think I've got slight memory loss as well because I forget stuff. But you know that theory of, did it actually happen, or did you?
No, you make this up. You made this up.
Stat.
No, like Jill thinks there's a stat out there that says 50% of the things that's happened in your life haven't actually happened. You've just made them up, and it's like, no, but remember you said to me, so sometimes you think you went to uni, but you never went to uni. No, you did. You said something so ridiculous like that.
What was the actual stat though?
I can't remember. I'll need to.
Ironic.
It wasn't that impactful, right? So, the title of today's episode was obviously on, or is on, the going into business with your partner, or going into business with anyone. I think these rules probably apply, but if there's any odds that go against you, it's like the hardest relationship is going to be a business partnership and a husband and wife relationship, or spouse, should I say. And we've decided to go, fuck it, let's combine them both and make life even more it's not that it's challenging. What would the word be? Like it's
interesting.
Like going against us. So I had prepped, to be honest, the prep for this episode was very last minute, but I asked Gillian to bring her 3 tips. Did I say 3
tips? You didn't say that.
What did I say?
I'm just hoping you say something I can bounce off it.
No, you're going first.
Oh, I'm not going first.
You're the guest.
I'll say though, when I started looking into this and see if you put into TikTok things I wish I knew before.
Yeah, that's it.
Things I wish I knew before getting into business with my spouse. Like, say it comes up like the AI thing now that tells you like a summary of things. It basically said you shouldn't get into business with your spouse because it makes your relationship bad. It takes away the emotional aspect of your relationship, because this is another thing. To run a business, there needs to be more masculinity. So because there's like because obviously there's like 2 masculine what's the word?
Decision making, power roles or whatever, like
because women can't make decisions.
Yeah, no, but it is. It's like we're too powerful in our stance with certain things. Find what it said.
So it said, starting a business with your wife can lead to a decrease in romantic relationship. Businesses foster a masculine energy, leading to more business-like interactions. It's crucial to be able to relax and not to constantly discuss work. But it's just interesting that the first one is like,
it's like that.
Don't do it. And then also like, it'll have a masculine.
Well, I'll just say, because I can understand some people's perspectives in that, but I've been more attracted to you I need to see. I need to like watch how I'm wording this. But I'm more attracted to you and being self-employed, being in business with you than I have been in the past. Not that I haven't been attracted to you. I don't know. I'm fucking digging a hole here. You get what I mean? And it's because we can have that deeper connection, but it does come with its challenges. And I don't think we've truly cracked it just yet. I think it's something
definitely don't. I think
you're working on.
We're only 4 months in. I say we're only 4 months in. We've technically worked together
since I started my journey.
Since you became self-employed, because I've always been involved in it, but obviously like not as involved as now. Like now it's deep.
It's deep, yeah. We're fucking in the mud together. So yeah, let's get into like some of the points then. So was the title that you said it there? I forgot already. So I didn't actually write down.
Things I wish I knew
before getting into business with
my spouse.
Tell me one.
I just said a bit there.
That's not yours though. You wish you knew that about me? You wish you were less masculine in the decisions that you're making? What?
Where do I need to go first?
Because you're the guest.
Yeah, that's a good one, which I actually don't think we've realised. So it's a learning.
An epiphany in the middle of the podcast.
Yeah, it is actually. So I think when you're in business with each other, I think you need to realise we're in it together, which sounds obviously like
cheesy.
That sounds.
Wait, is it? I said cheesy.
No, it is, but it sounds self-explanatory because you're in a business together. But I think you need to realise it's not me versus you or you versus me. We're on the same team. We're trying to reach the same goals and get there the same. Well, I'm saying we're trying to reach the same goals, but I think a lot of times we think there's different ways to get there. Like obviously we butt heads sometimes on, I think we should do this, you think we should do that. And I think we've said it before, like when we give each other feedback, we're not always the best on receiving that feedback. And I think it's sometimes also because we're not the best on delivering said feedback. And that's not a dig at you, it's me as well, because when you think of like when you work with people in a corporate setting, you need to be careful how you deliver feedback and how you accept it. But I think because me and you, because we're not in a corporate setting, you've never, I've seen, even though we work together, like since you've been self-employed, like you've never really worked with anyone this closely since you were in corporate. So you're not used to having someone there all the time or giving feedback. And I'm not used to giving my husband work feedback. Like it's more like,
it's a weird concept you never think about, really, because and it's not a point I've written down, but it reminds me like what we were talking about the other day. It's like sometimes we do need to like eliminate the emotion behind it and not give emotional responses, whether it's feedback or whether it's receiving it. It's just like, fuck you, take my thing.
Yeah, like sometimes you'll tell me something, I'll ask you like, what do you think about this video? Sometimes I'll say to you, what do you think about this video? And you'll be like, oh yeah, it looks good, but maybe have you thought of this? And I'm like,
it's like, go fuck yourself.
Like, go, like, no, I've not thought of that, so just go away.
Or it's like, why are you putting like tons of sound effects behind the video? And you're like, because I want to.
Exactly.
But that's not a good way. That's what I mean. That's not a good way of me presenting that to you either. So
I think like that's something I don't think we've cracked yet. But I think what we've recently done is recognised that we're not good at it, if that makes sense. But I think that's half the thing. Like because at the start where we're just, I'm not gonna lie, we were arguing or we were going to mood to each other because you'd tell me something or I'd tell you something, you'd be like, do they know? Or like, why are they doing that? But recognising that we need to be better at taking on feedback for each other and giving that feedback. And then also like what I said there, recognising that we are on the same team and it's not who can do this better, me or you. It's like, I'm not against you, you're not against me. Like when I give you feedback, it's good. I'm not trying to be a bitch and you're not trying to be a dick to me sometimes.
That also works for the relationship part though as well. Like it's like, and one thing that's similar between the relationship and the business relationship is it's always been worked on. I don't think you actually truly fix it. I think we'll have another blowout argument over something or we'll have that, but I think more and more respect comes with it and like understanding and all that sort of stuff. So what you've said kind of ties into three things that I had. I think the biggest one is always like being able to talk to each other.
Yeah. I
think that's how we speak to each other is one part, which you just spoke about. But the communication between each other, I've always been shit at it. I'll hold my hands up. Right, it's big. It's a trait, and I mean that. I don't mean that just for the business part, but definitely the relationship as well. Podcast has been great for that, but also you've found out.
Yeah, when you're podcasting with people, like I find out things that I don't know about you, not like about your past or that. I feel like I know like tons about your past, but like something you'll be feeling, and I'm like,
he's got a child.
The like things you're feeling, I'm like, I didn't know you felt that way, and I'm like, I need to wait a week later because by the time the episode's released, I'm like, you're like, I don't feel like that.
And I think that's like typical guy thing as well. Like you're, like you share some things, but you don't. You share it. I'd maybe share it because I know it's a good lesson for someone in the audience, and then I'm like, I spoke to you about this. Like, fucking hell, right? So, and that goes the same way a lot of stuff when it comes on to what's going on here. So communication is like a key trait that you'll see come up in books and self-development side of things, but it's how we connect and live on a day-to-day basis. So we need that to be down. But I like that being tied into we're in it together type of thing, because we are. And if you remember that, you're like, it's so hard when you're angry in the moment with things because you're fueled with
anger,
rage.
And it's like you just want to be right.
It's like they actually care about being right.
Yeah, you're not.
What's some things you think would be good for us to do? Like, cause see when we have our arguments or we butt heads on things, and we go away and spend like maybe 10 minutes. Like for me, it's like 5-10 minutes of alone time. I'm like, I feel normal now. I can come back to that conversation. It's like, oh, are you still angry at that? Fuck's sake.
It's not that you come back to that conversation. You go away for like 5-10 minutes and then come back in the room smiling and skipping. Whereas we've not, in my eyes, we've not resolved that issue.
But it's gone. But come on, not, like, fucking send it.
Hug me or like try and do something. I'm like, no, I'm still like annoyed.
Don't touch me.
No, like I'm still like annoyed.
Off.
Like the way you spoke to me or like the way something's happened. Like I'm annoyed, so I want to talk that through to say like, look, we need to change this. Who was in the wrong or that? Not who was in the wrong, but like.
But that's what I mean. It's always back to how it's been communicated. Like you said, sometimes I'm very short and sharp with how I've been with things, and that's why you're like pissed off because that's then give you the impression where, if you don't mind me, I'm going to say it anyway, but you've said like, I don't feel like you actually like me, like being here, and I was like, fuck, I didn't realise that was the impression I was given with that. And again, that's maybe partly not having someone that you're working with, just being short-fused with things.
For the last few years, even though I said like I have worked with you, but like the last few years it's been you like, and here obviously you've had like different co-hosts and stuff like that. I'm the new co-host, but
you want to fill the mantle?
Yeah, I'm good.
I made a promise on the podcast that I'm not trusting anyone else, but then I did say the only other person I trust you.
Exactly. But yeah, you're like not being used to having someone around 24/7, and now I'm here. And then it's like, it used to be when I worked in corporate, because you used to spend like 12-hour days with clients, speaking to people so many times, like personal training. But I was working from home, not really speaking to anyone face to face.
You're like, how's your day on that?
Like you come home,
social battery's done.
Battery's gone. You don't want to speak to me. Whereas I'm like, I'm ready to speak to someone. I need human contact, and it was like, wasn't working.
But we spoke about that, and that big resolution part of that was communication, building in time. So yeah, I think it always comes back to that. So right, your next point.
Rock, paper, scissors is the biggest way to make any decisions, and this isn't just for a business advice, this is for relationship advice.
Yeah. How did we come up with this?
I don't actually know, it's just randomly.
We just agreed that.
So any decision, if me and Dale can't...
let's set the scene. So, like, explain what...
Right, so if any decision comes to light, that it's not an easy decision, so if I want to... I'm trying to think of a decision now.
Like, so we do it with simple tasks, like who has to take the bin out, who has to go out and make Coopy's food. And it's not like that's your task and that's my task type of thing. It's like we both know it needs to be done. We both want to do it, and we're just like, let's... Like sometimes, like when with Cooper's food, for example, you've just done it, and then I've just done it. I'm trying to think like how to...
Yeah, so like we can't, like, I don't want to do it, you don't want to do it, but it needs to be done. And none of us are going to volunteer to do it. So instead of one of us going in huff because we need to do it, we do rock, paper, scissors, and we let fate decide, and we're not allowed to back out of it. Like that.
It needs to be done.
So if Dale wins and I still don't really want to do it, I need to do it because that is what we've agreed. It's rock, paper, scissors. So we do that in our relationship, but also sometimes in
With
business.
business, yeah.
So sometimes in business, we decided to go to IKEA because I won rock, paper, scissors, and we got some nice things for the podcast.
It'll be interesting with an actual business decision that potentially could make X amount of money, and it's like, fuck it, rock, paper, scissors.
I think that
Just go it, no consequences with
it.
That's a good way of doing it. So that it ties into another one. I said, have fun because we're living a dream life. I think that's another thing I wish. Well, I guess that's what is the title again? Why do I keep forgetting?
What I wish I knew before going into business with my spouse.
So yours is rock, paper, scissors. That's what I mean. It's kind of not making sense.
Yeah, things I wish I knew. Let's play rock. I wish
Oh,
I
right,
knew rock,
true.
paper, scissors sooner.
Right, so where I'm going with this is like, I think there's a lot of, bless you now, bless you again. There's a lot of scarcity when you look up, oh, don't go into business with people, don't go into business, oh, definitely don't go into business with your partner. And I think one thing that I forget that I need to remind ourselves is when 5 years ago we're kind of living our different lives. And remember we used to drive to work and you would drop me off at BT and you would go to Boots. It was like, imagine we worked in the same place. And it was like, imagine we had this life like being together all the time.
No,
and it was something that we used to envision.
I remember what it was when you worked at Gym 24 and then after I came to work out late one night and then after my workout we sat and spoke to Manny and Tony for like a good hour, 2 hours, literally just talking about like how they'd got their business, what they were doing and stuff like that. And I remember we were walking back to the car and I said to you like, how cool would it be
to have your own gym
together and have our gym together? And you were like, I know, that would be so cool. And we're like, I'm just probably like, we
didn't even give it a second thought.
Like we're just like, that's what it is. And then I don't know, like what, 6 months later you got this place.
Yeah,
like,
6 months later this place was offered, and then 2 years later that we're here. And that's something I've had to realise like very recently, no matter kind of how frustrating you can get or how stressed you can get with other things going on, try to balance it. It's like, fucking let's just have fun while we're here. Like
I think and it ties into one of my points that I had, like have fun, but then also just like take time to look back how far you've came. Like even if you think like what we got, that memory that came up in our thing from 2 years ago when we came to see the gym for one of the first times, and it was all
emotional quotes
about the pain you feel today is the strength you feel tomorrow.
I like that. I'm going to open the next podcast with that.
You should have kept that quote up on the wall. But like we don't take enough time to realise like we're doing something, like you said, really cool, but also how far have we came, like, and also how much we're learning. Because if you look back this time last year, maybe the way we did things was like weird or stupid, or maybe it wasn't, but like we just learn as we go. Like if you look at this podcast studio a year ago, like it wasn't as cool as this, it wasn't as efficient. The amount of podcast episodes you messed up because your editing wasn't great and stuff like that, and like look where you are now, you don't even have a second thought when you're editing. I think it's like taking time to like realise your wins, because again in a corporate setting you get employee of the month, you get monthly stars, you got all that kind of stuff. I'm not saying I want employee of the month every other month, because you'd get it the other month, but I think like let's take time to celebrate wins, like, but I think you need to make those milestones first to then.
Yeah, I think we done that goal setting book, and it was like we need to kind of get back to something like that, but like kind of bringing it back to the point is something I wish I knew before we getting started, is going right here 1 month into this. To be fair, that's one thing that it can be a point, is putting time aside to then step away and being able to reflect. So we've done that for the first 2 months, and then kind of parked it a wee bit. But we'll have Madrid come up and all that sort of stuff.
Even
so
like when we done ads for your overnight,
that's a bit of it. But we need
did
to.
it, but I don't really feel like we took
It's not
time
the same
to like do it, and we were still doing work and stuff like that. So, which I think it's a really hard balance. I was speaking to someone at this yesterday saying that's the first time I've been officially self-employed that I took 2 days off, and I'm like, oh crap, I know now what Dale's been feeling for the last however many years. Because I'm like, I've got my to-do list is just piled up, and
just
normally
anxiety and stress.
Yeah, you're like, oh god, what is it? And I think that is just what happens with self-employed. You just need to try and find that balance so it doesn't come back to being madness. But I'm only 4 months in, so we'll figure it out. And I'm sure if we do this podcast episode this time next year, we'll have
even more
different
kind of
things.
strengths to add
Yeah,
to.
we'll have completely different things that we'll say.
I think a lot of people don't agree with going into business with your partner because their relationship foundations aren't great. And I think, I'm not saying ours is perfect, but as far as how strong our relationship is, I think it's, I would like to, I'd say, I'd go as far as say it's bulletproof, actually. I thought you'd like that.
Yeah.
You like a wee dad joke.
Yeah, I like it fun.
So, but joking aside, like I think that it plays a big part to why this is going to be successful and will be even more successful, and why it was a no-brainer. It wasn't like, I never once have, well, you can tell me, be honest with us, like I've never once, when we've came together and joined his, like when I set up my PT business, automatically, even though you weren't in it, it was like, you're 50% shareholder, I'm 50% shareholder. It was never like, this is going to be mine and this is going to be yours. Like, yes, you're not going to exactly do PT sessions for me, but everything that we do to help each other. And that stems from one, why like, yes, I've got this dream to help people get stronger, get fitter and all this sort of stuff, but also a part of my dream is having you in it and making sure we're strong together. And I think that says a lot, though, as to what to maybe look at first before maybe going into business with someone.
Yeah, like I wouldn't go into business if you
feel like
if you think it's going to...
You're on and off.
Yeah, like if you think it's going to save relationship, like what is it you stay together for the kids? Like, don't stay together for the business type thing. And like... That
can be messier.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think, like, I remember we had that little wobble a couple of weeks ago, and I said, like, I had a panic, being like, if something happened to me and you, like, I feel like I've got nothing, but it's more just, that was more in me because I was...
Insecure.
Thanks.
No, that is an insecurity, though, because I said to you straight away, I was like...
It's like, I think it's a lot of self-doubt, and I have had a huge amount of self-doubt since I became self-employed, because it's just, like, it's imposter syndrome, and I know it's such a buzzword, but it's
you
like...
say business owner, by the way.
What did I say?
You say self-employed. We keep saying self-employed. It's like there's no major difference. It's the same sort of thing. It's just titles at the end of the day. But
it's just like you get that imposter syndrome, because it's like, why? And it's stupid because our business is doing really well just now. Like, we're super busy, but a lot of time I'm like, why would someone want to come work with me? Like, why would someone trust me to do their content and social media? Because I feel like, I don't know, like it's just like I don't believe myself a lot of time, and that's where I think that, like, a couple of weeks ago came from.
I think that's trait, but that's also self-development that needs to be worked on. Yeah,
I think so, because I think there's a lot, though, when we become a business owner or self-employed, you do, like, it's a roller coaster. One minute you're like, yeah, this is great, I'm loving it, and then the next you're like, oh, what have I done? Like, why am I doing this? It. Like, but
part and parcel.
It's fun.
Now, what's your last point?
I think I got, like...
You not got one? Have you said them all?
I think so. I think the other one I was like, it's not really that good one, but it's like knowing each other's working style, which I think we spoke about a wee bit. Like, we've been together for 12 years, so I'd like to think I know your general behaviour and things like that, but maybe, like, I think mine and your working styles can be very different. In general, are you yawning there? Are you going to yawn?
No.
Let it yawn.
It's because I seen Cooper yawn. I was like,
You're gonna yawn.
Yawns are contagious.
Yeah, so I think, like, learning each other's learning styles is, like, a big thing, because I think we've said it before, like, sometimes you like to be a bit more, like, downtime, quiet when you're working, whereas I sometimes like to break off for a dance party in the middle of it, just to get some energy out. Like, that's
it's meeting in the middle with that, though, as well.
Yeah, I think it's also just learning and understanding each other's.
Yeah, because I'm massively on, I'd rather be more lonely with the approach of, look, just give me a bit of space and I'll be fine in 5 minutes. And my testosterone spikes back up.
I haven't got into a debate yet about...
No, I've got some things to kind of round up the episode on, don't worry. I was going to say something there that they were just being... Oh, yeah, like, so maybe a future episode that would be quite good to do is actually debunking some of the shite that's out there, because the physical part of the relationship dying and your actual... not your business relationship, but your actual romantic relationship is only because you've lacked putting in the work with that. And I think there's times, I always go back and forth with this because it's like, okay, you need to create space where you don't talk about work, but work isn't my life, it's my passion, it's everything that I love to do. And one of my favourite memories of us, our date nights, is like when we've been out and speaking about like, oh man, I really need to run those workshops, I need to start doing that group coaching, and we get to speak about that.
Yeah, because I think that's like, I don't agree with like what you said, like a lot of people say like, right, it needs to be separate, when you go home you don't speak about work. What else are we going to speak about? Like, and that sounds
If it's your
sad.
life, yeah.
Like that sounds sad, as if like, oh, you're not going to speak about it. But like, when you don't work together, you come home and you talk about what happened in work. What's somebody done? Like, Tom's grown his mullet. Like, remember I came home and told you that? Like, things like that. Like, but when I think we were having dinner one night and came up with the full concept of Lifting Club, the logo, the brand, and everything for it. And for
some
that,
of the best ideas come from
fun.
that.
Like, I love doing that. I think though, on the flip side of that, there still needs to be time that we set aside, not that where we don't talk about business, but where we're not
truly
in the business
connecting
environment, and we are connecting, whether that is going for dinner, going for the cinema, just going for an overnight, going a walk, and we don't have our phones, because sometimes like we're still working because we're on our phones. We'll be like, oh, have you sent that invoice to that person? Have you done that for that? I think that's different from, right, let's come up with a concept that's group workshops or whatever like that, or let's think about what we're going to do for the next content shoot. So I think there's still a bit to work on, definitely, from that, to remove ourselves from it, but not fully remove them, because it will never fully remove.
I think it's balancing. So the other one's like balancing boundaries.
Yeah.
Like the boundaries is one that you, so like you said, most people is that hard rule. We don't talk about it this time. It's usually like, I think this is normally advice. Stop. We'll go home. Okay, stay. We'll go home. We'll just take a bit for the boundaries. So that's where I'd put down boundaries as part of this. So boundaries is like, you only speak about work and these times, these days, etc. But I think it can't be boundaries. I don't know. I think when you're in a romantic relationship and a business relationship, I think the boundary element needs to be able to flow. Whereas sometimes boundaries is seen as this hard stop, 9 till 5. This is what happens. And when we have, like, we're running a business that we're truly passionate about, the things within it that gives us joy, excitement, stress, anxiety, all these sort of things, we want to be able to bring that into the romantic part of the relationship and help each other with that. And I think one of the hardest traits to balance is trying to please each other and help each other, just based off what you said this morning. Because we had the content day shoot, it was like something that you wanted me to be there for, to, like, you could absolutely do on your own, and you wanted me there because you thought it was helping me out. And you didn't want me to come because
I felt you were too busy.
You felt I was too busy. I had all these other things, which, I can make the argument for that. But when I asked you, you excited for today? And you're like, no, I'm stressed. I don't think I can do this. I'm like, well, we need to, we're a team. We need to work together. But that was, again, communication. But that took a good 5-10 minutes back and forth. But we bounced back quick. And I said dance party in the car, and it worked. See?
That's what I mean. Like, you got my learning style or my working style. You knew a dance.
Was it your love language? So
my love language.
I wonder what
a work love language is.
Business language. It's not got the same ring to it.
A work love language.
Maybe it is.
You try and do that test.
How does it feel to that you've got a work husband?
I was going to say that. Like,
we actually are work husband and wife.
Because that's such a touchy subject. When someone says you've got a work husband. Right.
Anything you want to round up on with that sort of chat?
I had something that came to mind there, now it just went away. But I think, what was the other thing I was going to say? Like, sometimes like a feeling of guilt sometimes when you're, I don't know if this is working with your husband, I think just in general when you're a business owner or self-employed, when you're doing something out with the business, even not with you, like if I go see my friends but you're still in here, or you're doing something, or you're, like, for example, you're going to Manchester this weekend, I'm in the studio, like, that's fine. Like, I'll go out with my friends, you'll still be PTing, even though it's like one business. I think there's sometimes
you feel guilty, or
sometimes I feel guilty. Like, I felt, and this is just trying to get like I don't know if it's a routine, because I don't really think you can have a routine with being a. You think there is, can be a routine?
No, you can have something to aim towards for the day. I've tried
to have a routine, whereas if, like, right, I'll get up at this time, I'll work out, I'll do this, I'll do my admin on Mondays, I'll do this and that day, and I'll make sure I'm in bed for 9 o'clock, and that's my routine. But then we've got a late night podcast hire
I think it comes back to scheduling and creating time for it.
No, but it's not like this podcast.
Right.
I mean, like, we've got someone that's hired a studio.
Flexible.
Yeah, but like that's what I mean, routine. But like it's even got to the point sometimes where I feel guilty because it takes me longer to wash my hair than it does for you. And I don't wash my hair. Like I've went 3 days without washing my hair because I feel guilty. Yeah. That's not something I told you, but like I don't
see being honest, like I find, but this isn't me projecting this on you. I know this is from me. Like you've been out with your friends and I'm like, she's out with her friends and I'm having to work, and then I'm like, why are you thinking like that? And it's back on my insecurity because I can create time to see friends. I can do like went that cycle with Sam and you were in here, and weirdly enough I got the other side of it. I was like, I should have actually been in the studio. Because
when you came back and I'd cleaned the gym for Lifting Club and you're like, I'm really sorry I should have been here. I'm like, no, you shouldn't, because that you would. I
feel if I didn't say sorry, that's like disrespecting you.
But like I'd said sorry like that week where I had about 5 concerts in a row. Like I felt I was like, what am I doing?
Because like, we're negative bank balances.
But I bought them.
I'm only kidding.
It was Gill math. It was free because I bought them last year.
It's not free.
Previous Gill paid for that. Corporate Gill paid for it. But I think it is like I feel guilty sometimes. Like, but then when you're going to Manchester, so you're trying to feel guilty. But it's not like you don't need to feel guilty. Like we just lean on each other. But it's stupid stuff like hair washing. Like, because it takes
showering.
It is.
Showering.
Like, I've went a couple of days without showering because I'm like, I don't have time to shower.
Kippy, I thought it was you that smelled in the house. Smelly?
Like, I don't have time to have a shower because I need to go edit this podcast. And if I don't edit this podcast, Dale's going to start doing it and he should be doing something else. So he's coaching.
Yeah, but we need to play on each other's strengths. Right. Good point. Good podcast. Go around, finish on. Got a couple of questions, quick fire questions for you, right? I'd originally wrote like 3 things I do that piss you off, but I actually don't know if I want to get into that with you. So instead, we might do another episode where we can dive more into that.
Maybe you do one of those questions.
They're a wee bit deeper and it might actually last another 20 minutes. So I think I like what I've wrote here because I'm actually curious to these questions. So first one, what is the weirdest habit I have that you've secretly tolerated all these years?
Secretly tolerated. You can cut my long gap here, can't you?
No, we'll keep it raw and authentic.
So many things that have come to mind, I just can't pick one.
What? Right, go name a few. I feel I know what some of them are going to be.
Like, I don't want to go the standard ones, like you put your washing, you put your boxers.
Weirdest habit?
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know why you do this. Like, you don't put your washing in the washing hamper, you put it right next to it. Just open the hamper door.
Calm down here. Like, this isn't
That's what I mean.
This is a like weirdest habit. That's what you'd say.
No, I'm saying that's don't
not
want
weird.
to go with something.
That's just standard. Like just what men do.
Just rude. Weirdest habit. Not cleaning your ears.
What? Why would you say that? What are you talking about? Not clean. She's referring to my earrings because for the last couple of years actually, I do clean my ears. It's just my ears get really smelly. I don't know why. I pierce my ears myself.
Weird habit. I'm trying to think. I think it's not a habit, and it's something. See when you sleep. See when you sleep, you yawn in your sleep a lot. Like, who yawns while they're sleeping?
What's wrong with that?
Almost done, bud.
Go home. Right. 2 minutes. Okay, 2 minutes.
Who yawns in their sleep though? You're already sleeping, so why are you yawning while you're sleeping?
Don't know, I'm asleep.
It wakes me up.
Oh, you want to talk about sleeping, do we?
No. This is the habits for you, not for me.
Actually surprised you never said anything about gaming or anime.
Doesn't annoy me.
You don't think that's weird though?
No.
What about wearing anime t-shirts?
That's what
You've slagged me. Have you? No.
There
you go, guys. All the anime lovers out there. I know. There is hope for us all. You heard it here. Cooper's having a... Right, so next one. What's something that I do that immediately makes you think, oh no, here we go again? I've got one for you for this.
I was going to say, why is it like me that's going to sound like the bitch? Oh no, here we go again.
Like, it doesn't need to be those words, but like, oh, here we go again.
You go with yours if you've got yours first.
Anything to do with women. Like what we said at the start. I don't mean it in a bad way. I just mean like if something's like, what was it the other day? What were we talking about the other day? And you said like, did you know? And I'm just, aye, that was it. He said, did you know seatbelts were designed for men? And I went, in my head, I literally went, here we go again.
But they are.
I know, but so like I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I'm just like, oh, here we go again.
Seatbelts and like car safety in general, like the airbags as well, were designed for a man. They weren't designed for women. Which just, I feel, sums everything up in life. Like they don't really care about women's safety. I'm kidding, no, it's not that they don't care about women's safety, but they've just not put enough effort in to make
like,
sure.
so what do you think back to me?
Oh no, here we go again.
Maybe I am just perfect.
I know, that's it.
Just every day in life, oh, here we go again.
It's more just sometimes when I don't know what mood you're going to come in.
So, like, give an example.
Like
I think I know what you're talking about.
Sometimes I think, like, are we happy today? Are we a wee bit moody? Like, I don't know.
In what sense?
Well, it's just that. Like, are you... Oh, no, here we go again. You leave the bacon pack out.
The bacon pack?
Yeah, every
Oh,
time
packets of bacon.
you have the packet of bacon out.
That's a weird habit.
Yeah,
Didn't you think about that? My whole morning routine. It was so weird.
You left the pack of bacon out for 3 hours.
Right.
4 hours today.
Right, last one. What's the most embarrassing thing I've done in front of other people that still makes you laugh?
Do you go on for me?
No, I only thought of that one on the spot.
You think of one for me?
Embarrassing thing?
Yeah. I think probably when you had to perform in Mexico.
You were embarrassed? You were embarrassed?
A wee bit for you.
Wait? What, the whole solo?
Yeah.
So I got up on stage in one of those competitions in Mexico with family resorts, and it's like what is it?
Mr. Iberostar.
That was it.
Iberostar Hotel.
So I entered into Mr. Iberostar, and
you won it, to be fair.
did I win? I can't even remember if I won or not.
And you had to speak in Spanish, which you were terrible at.
Right, okay, we don't need to get into the details of it.
Then you had to do a dance competition, and then you had to dress up as like
A woman.
Madonna, it was. And you had like fake boobs and blonde hair, and they told you the mic wasn't on, so just to like
they were recording.
Sing quietly and the song would go over, and then they played the recording back, and you were like, it was Like a Virgin the song was, and you were like like that's the full song.
Right, okay, we don't need to relive that because that's embarrassing. I actually thought it would be singing at your mum's wedding.
Oh, yeah.
That was quite embarrassing.
I think
That's really embarrassing.
for you.
You're not embarrassed? That would be if that was you up there. I actually don't know if I have one for you. Maybe I feel like Cooper's just about to turn the recording off. What is it? Oh, it's that wee bit. No, I don't have one for you. Nothing comes to mind.
Not embarrassing. What great content that, isn't it?
No, but these were for you. These weren't for me. So, wraps up the episode. Well done. How was your first podcast episode?
Excellent, thank you.
Good.
Upset I never got to speak about female justice more.
Maybe we can bring you back on.
Okay.
Can jump into the feminism of
It's not feminism, it's just
or what's the word then? I'm actually trying to be respectful and
I don't know, but
communicate the right thing.
male privilege.
You want to talk about male privilege? Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, if we had to, so we're going to cycle home tonight, and if I had to cycle home tonight on my own, I would not feel safe, whereas you'd be fine.
Well, you're not cycling home alone. We're cycling together. Coopy's going to be there as well. Right, wrap the episode up there. Well done on your first episode. Proud of you, babe.
Okay, thanks for having me on. Hope your guests would like me back on. Maybe I'll start my own. Who knows?
Who knows? Maybe this is the gateway to starting your own. I know, Cooper.
We're
Come
gonna
on, stop.
Start our own TV show.
That is something that will be on the bulletproof. Bullet pack. Sit.
Sit.
Do we go out? Right. Sit. Stay. Ready? Stay. So that is something worth mentioning. We're going to start doing maybe more. Well, not maybe. We will be collabing more on another YouTube channel called Bulletproof Studios, and it probably won't be
like some fun content.
it won't be podcast format. It'll be more like video format.
Yeah,
so
like more games and
as you
stuff.
can see, Cooper is starting to get antsy. So yeah, wrap things up there. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Of course, if you want to follow my lovely wife, she has her very own marketing page. Introduce it.
Yes.
I think you've actually introduced it, have you?
No, because it's fallen away a wee bit, but I'm coming back. I've got to come back. So it's the social chatter _ on Instagram. You'll find me there.
And
All your hints and tips and content that we've been working on.
good stuff. Right. Until next time. See you later.